Well, welcome back for another episode here in our series on ideas in support of distance learning. I'm Andrew Easton with the ESU Coordinating Council, here with Christina and Kelly of the ESU 5's World Language Program. And we've been exploring a number of topics throughout this series that are related to distance learning and some practices from folks who do this work each and every day as they're sharing their insights in hopes of benefiting those tuned in to learn more. And so we're going to, for the purpose of this particular video, talk about leveraging your LMS. And so to give a little bit of information on the front end, an LMS stands for your Learning Management System. A statewide Canvas is the one that is most prominently used in Nebraska, though we're a local control state. And so every district might select something different, from Blackboard to Canvas to Schoology. Some leverage Google Classroom as their LMS, and I've heard folks debate as to whether that is an LMS or not. But regardless of which platform you're on, our conversation today is going to focus not on the details of the particular different platforms, but rather the practices. And so know that there are resources through our NVIS site and our DL teacher support materials that do focus on that level of detail with some of the different platforms that are out there. But for today's conversation, I'm going to ask Christina and Kelly the ways in which they leverage an LMS to enhance the learning experience for the students they serve. So I'll throw it over to Christina first.
Sure. So we use Canvas, as you said, in our program, and we have it already set up to where we have the entire year program into modules in Canvas. So it's quite handy, because then that way we can just pull over modules and set up each one of our classes at the beginning of the year, and we've got everything already there. The students also have access to whatever we want them to have access to. So that's a super handy way that we can get all of the material out there and in a timely fashion, and just have everything set up and organized and structured for ourselves and for the students too.
And I like the way that we use the overview page as the home page, the landing spot for students, with all of the assignments laid out for them, and we can just put the date that we did them in there. So with every unit, we have a new home page, and that is very, very helpful.
Yeah, I like that too, because with our homepage, so as I'm teaching different classes or different schools, I should say, will have Spanish too as their curriculum, I can set up my homepage a little bit different to where I have it broken out for each school that I teach. So then that way they know exactly where we are at in that day. The homepage also has the link right there to whatever assignment or Google Slides that we did for the day. So if they're absent, it's super easy for them to get on and say, oh gosh, well, it was Wednesday. What did they do in class? Here's the link. And it takes you directly to where we were for the day for the lesson, so that they can easily make up what they missed while they were absent too.
And Christina, I'd like to piggyback on that real quick and say we also have our proctors in the classroom as teaching assistants in our Canvas, so that they can go in and see what the students see in case there's any confusion on this part of the students with what they need to be doing.
So I want to make sure that I follow this too for the classroom teacher who maybe, let's say, teaches 4 sections of, we'll say, English 1 at their particular school. And then they have been asked to deliver an English 1 course to another school via distance learning. The recommendation here would be for that DL class to have its own homepage and kind of separate section or site in some regard, because I could see there being a conflict with if I were to just lump all students together in my English 1 collective, that the things like the academic calendar might be different at the other school, or you might miss a class period, and as such, there wouldn't be quite the same level of flexibility, or maybe to think about it conversely, the personalization for that receiving district, if it is all sort of set up in one spot. Am I correct in kind of thinking about that as it pertains to bell schedule? We have a whole video on that topic, but I think this provides some clarity with why that would be important.
I was thinking about grading for the teachers. If you lump all of your English 101 together, that's going to be a nightmare. If you have like first hour, fifth hour, no, you can't do that. I'm sure Christina's got a lot more insight into that, but that was just my reaction. Grading, no.
Well, it really does depend on the person, the teacher's personality, because actually, Andrew, when you say, gosh, you wouldn't want to lump, and because of all of the calendar changes and things like that, I do. I have all of my Spanish 2 sections are in one course on Canvas, and I've done it other ways. But it's a little bit easier for me this year, not getting into the finite details of Canvas. But I found that it was a lot easier to have all of Spanish 2 in one section. So then that way I know if I'm changing something on an assignment, I don't have to go into 4 different sections of Canvas and change it 4 different times potentially. I can change it one time and it's going to facilitate the needs that I want for all of my Spanish 2 students. But you're right, there's a million students in there if you're looking at it at that aspect. So that's where I also love Canvas and their grading screen, because you can filter that. You can filter it. You can have all of the students so that you can go through every single student that's in that course. Or you can filter it to just be, oh, this is just going to be first hour Spanish 2. And I can pull up just my first hour Spanish 2 students so that I can grade. I can email, which is amazing as well too, because if I'm in there with one class period grading and I see that there's 5 people that missed that assignment, I can quickly go up in that grade book and I can hit the button that says send a message to all students who, and then you can filter. Mine is always set to who didn't turn this assignment in, and then I can quickly, it looks like they're getting personalized email from me, but I actually within 35 seconds have sent it off to all 5 students who missed that assignment. So it's totally depends on the teacher, but if you can figure out how to do the filters, I have found that it's way easier to control the assignments in the curriculum if it's all in one Spanish 2 course rather than trying to remember and going and changing in different courses.
I love and appreciate that, Christina. That is why we're having these videos, is to walk folks through kind of the thought process behind these. And so thanks. I'm learning through this process as we go too. So what are some other ways in which we leverage an LMS, particularly for distance learning, to kind of help with all the aspects that it's able to support? I mean, it's pretty broad.
Well, for my 3-4 classes, I like to use the discussion board feature. And I always set it so that they have to post their own response to the prompt before they see everybody else's. So that way nobody has an unfair advantage. Oh, I'm going to read what 12 other people said and then I'm going to do mine. No, that's not how it works. You put your time into it and think for yourself, and then we'll have a conversation. So I do love the discussion boards, especially for the cultural activities and the background readings and stuff, just to build the background knowledge. I do like that.
That's good. I really like the quizzes. They take a little bit of time to get in there, but you can filter it to where the quiz, if the student takes the quiz the first time, they can take it an infinite number of times. And so rather than using it as a quiz, we've also done it, we've set it up to where it's like a bell activity. And the quiz per se has some sort of a reading setting for them in the Spanish or target language. And then you can also have like 40 questions, but yet you set it to where they only get 5 questions. And then every time they do it again, it recycles all those questions. And so new questions pop up. So it's not them memorizing the questions and then redoing it and getting a better grade. It's challenging the students because it's recycling the questions. So truly they would have to go through it quite a number of times in order to see the same question again. So it's great. It's a great tool for studying for quizzes and tests like that. It's also a great tool for if we're on Zoom. So if we have an overlapping class time with two schools and we're not quite done with this school, we can have this school get onto a quiz like that and spend some time reviewing and studying the material before we pull them into our Zoom. So I love the quiz feature that it has.
It is handy to have.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and as you're sharing there, it made me think too about some of the conversations I've had with DL as it pertains to, there's some routines that you would typically set up in an in-person classroom that now might be best facilitated digitally. And I think that's true of in-person also, by the way, but that Canvas or your LMS plays a role in that. And then also even some of that like communication with the student, whether that be, as you're talking about, through emails, so just kind of touching upon some of the ways in which leveraging an LMS helps kind of with the rhythms of class and for students to understand how to contact you and the best avenues for getting the feedback that they're seeking out.
Right, for sure. So for myself, we have multiple schools, and since we have multiple schools, we have multiple email addresses. In order to access their grading systems, we have to have an email address through them as well. And I found it was really hard to get all of those merged over sometimes into my own work email. So Canvas has been a godsend for me just because every student can go into their Canvas and they can email me, and it directly goes into my box through my email box. I can also respond through my email box. I don't have to go into Canvas and respond, and it looks as though I am responding through Canvas. So that's been a really, really huge tool for me as far as communicating with the students immediately when they have questions. The other thing I absolutely love that we've been doing this year is the annotation feature on Canvas, because that allows us to give really quick feedback on assignments. As we're looking through them, we can grab a tool on Canvas and just circle something that was wrong, or we can add a text box to that assignment that the students have turned in, so they can super quickly and easily pull up their worksheet and it looks like I have edited whatever I need them to correct, or what I need them to see was done incorrectly. So that annotation tool for communication between students has been phenomenal for me to give them immediate feedback rather than waiting for papers to pile up and then, 3 days later, I'm going to hand back this paper with these edits, which really aren't very relevant at the moment anymore because we've moved on to a new topic type of thing. So I love those two features.
Well, that's very true. And, timely feedback is important. It's a best practice. It's got to be relevant and timely.
Absolutely. Any more details, I guess, as we bring this to a close with regards to thinking about how we leverage an LMS?
I think so.
All right. Well, thank you both so much for your time and for sharing your great ideas with everyone who's listening in. I know that the World Languages Department at ESU 5 does a phenomenal job and would point folks to learn more about your program there if you're at all interested. And that also you can obviously then check out anything through NVIS as we are actively building out more support resources for DL teachers there. And that's also our course clearinghouse statewide for DL courses. But for today's conversation, we just really appreciate your time and encourage folks to check out other videos in this series if you're interested in learning more about best practices and some good ideas in support of distance learning.